Good evening. Welcome to Lower Frederick Township's June 16th, 2026 work session. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members of the board are present, including our township manager, solicitor, our chief of police, and our township engineer. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all members addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended for the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. Okay, on our agenda this evening, up first is the admin request for the township building sign discussion. Are you putting up a presentation? Yeah. Okay, all right. And we have Eric from KC present, okay, to answer any questions that we have. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So this is the updated township sign presentation from tonight. Just to go over some things that we've gone over previously. Our budget for this was a total of $32,904.50, which is made up of a grant and the insurance reimbursement for the sign getting hit in December. Outstanding questions from the previous meeting were, can we make the stone a different color, which is what I'm showing you here. Some of the different ways we can go with stone. Yes, KC Stone has a ton of different stone options. Brick is hard to match with existing structures and can look funny if slightly different. If we switch the stone material to a different color, does the price change? No price change. And then we just wanted to note in our village center, some current stone examples, which would be some more recent buildings down there, which would be the CVS sign, the CVS building, the Dunkin' Donuts sign, Dunkin' building, sidewalks, Wawa, and Southford Station Spirits, which was a remodel. Outstanding questions. Can the top of the sign be arched versus straight? Yes, Casey adjusted the sign to show a comparison of straight versus arch. There is a cost difference for this, and I'll show you the examples on the next slide. What is the price difference between the straight? It's $765 for the arched. What is the price difference between the basic base versus the L-shaped base versus the double pillar base, which was discussed last meeting? L-shape would be plus $2,700. The double pillar would be an additional $7,575. And just a note that we originally provide the L-shaped base to provide a buffer in case of another vehicle hitting the expensive sign moving forward. Can KC provide an example of the screen quality? That's actually what Eric has out in the parking lot right now between the 12 millimeter and the 9 millimeter. As was expressed to me, it was difficult to do that via some type of picture. I mean, that's what came from Eric, which is why he brought the sign with him tonight. If we make the base shorter, does the price change? No price change. We advise the sign company to match the existing sign base, which is why the measurements are what they are. We were also advised that the sign should be off the ground as Spring Mount Road carries heavy truck traffic, and the further the ground the sign, the more likely it is to be damaged. All right, so this is the option one with the L-shaped base, and as you can see, you've got the arched and the straight, which was originally presented. Total cost for option one, with the admin lettering, which is an additional $3,645, the side pillar and logo, which is $2,995, the arch sign $765, approximate permit cost of $695. Install is included. We're looking at $42,095. Noting the address panel vinyl letters can be added to the space, which that would be the address. Whereas this other example, the address is actually on the top sign, which would be no extra cost. And upgrading to the 9mm sign from the 12mm would be an additional $1,500. So some possible cost savings would be no logo, which would take off $300. Remove the lettering, which would be $3,645, or if you wanted to remove the arch, so kind of more of a bare bones amount would be $37,385. Any questions so far? Okay. The second option, this is the base only with the arched and the flat across. Total cost of this sign, with the previous additions that I mentioned on the previous slide, looking at $39,100. Noting once again, the address panel vinyl letters can be added to the base, or if the address stays, there's no extra costs. And of course, the upgrading to a 9mm sign. Possible cost savings would be to remove the lettering and the no arch, so bare bones of cost of $34,690. And that would be the most like what we had out there. Okay, this is the double pillar, which was brought up at the last meeting. Total cost with all the additions, including the double pillars, we're looking at $46,975. Of course, the same, the vinyl letters for the address came off or were added or were part of the per sign. The upgrade in the sign quality as far as the 12 to 9mm, $1,500. Possible savings here would be no logo, taking off $300, taking off the administration police would save us $3,645, and then the arch difference of $765. So the kind of bare bones on the option 3 would be $42,265. So this is kind of the visual comparison between the three types. And showing with or without lettering. And the next couple of slides are going to be kind of showing some different base color comparisons. The ones we've been using for the previous slides was ledgestone grays, and of course the original kind of black that we had on when we first brought this to the board's attention. This is what a cream frost would look like.
What color would be most consistent with what's elsewhere in the village? Because you mentioned that there's stone.
Probably this seems to be more of maybe tan. This ledgestone tan seems to be more Although I think CVS might be a lighter, like CVS and Wawa seem to have the same kind of color, and Dunkin', so it's more of a lighter tan than any of the grays. Yeah, something to match out. Yep. And then this was what the brick option, antique brick red with the gray grout. So you guys can see that, what that might look like. So yeah, so if we went back to the stone color, probably like that lighter tan, I would guess. But that's something, in talking to Eric, we can certainly try to work out. And if that's the color that the board wants us to go with, and that's something obviously, we can check out and get as close to that as possible. All right. All right, next steps. Here are the questions. Do you want the 12 millimeter or 9 millimeter sign? As you guys saw coming in, Eric did bring a display. If the board wants to take a look at that display to see the difference. I guess as Eric kind of explained, you really notice it, I guess, as you get farther away from the sign. That's where the pics, I guess, is that where it shows up more?
You're not standing right on top of the sign. Everybody's over hard. Everybody walking by is actually over back. So go back and stand, get clear, you actually see the differences between the side.
Obviously, do we want the basic base, L-shaped or double pillar base? Straight edge or arch sign? Which actually, I got to say, I really did like the way the arch sign looked. I think it definitely changed the look of the sign itself. Where do we want 53 Spring Mount Road? I think I would recommend that we put it on the upper sign. Save that cash, and not put it on the pillar or the base. And I kind of feel the same way with the administration, the police. If that's something we want to try to do later down the road, but right now, I would say that's not. I don't know that I wouldn't make that a deal breaker. And that's kind of what Eric just said, the color texture does not need to be decided tonight. He advised once we settle the questions above, we can sit down with their design team and order free samples to determine what base color would look best.
I had a couple questions that aren't addressed here. On the examples, the background is red. Is that what it's going to look like? Okay, gotcha. Okay, great. And the other question I had is about kind of the size and the font of the lettering. I think that we want that to kind of have a nice look. No, I mean the permanent lettering, like on the top where it says Lower Frederick Township. Do we have choices on the font and the size of the lettering? Okay.
Once you guys place the link with this, we actually put you in touch with the production designers, and they will go back and forth with you guys 100 times for the right fonts, colors.
Super. That'd be great. Great, thank you very much.
The way you have it laid out, Jason, I kind of prefer. I don't know anything about technology, so I'm going to defer to the rest of the board between the 12 and the 9. I'm fine with that. Yes, I do like the arch. From a money perspective, I'd like to just do the base, but if everybody likes the L, I'm willing to go with that. I'm glad that we can work on a different, for the stone or whatever. Yeah. And the 53 Spring Mount Road, I liked your suggestion on that too. So if we go with the L. Did you work this?
Could I interject something?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I know you prefer, I know it costs more money to have the two pillars, but I do think having the two pillars gives it more of a, I don't want to say historic character to it that more aligns with our township, especially both just having the sign by itself and also even with the L, it comes off a bit too modern for a township that was established over 100 years ago. So, yeah, I know it's more money, but it's not like we're going to buy them every week. So it's something to think about. Just from a pure aesthetics point of view, I think the two pillars gives us a look that's consistent with a township that's been around for 100 years. I agree with Jason with respect to, I don't see the need to have 53 Springmount Road on the base of the item and at the top. I think it makes better sense at top in the smaller characters like you show. And I'll say other opinions later on.
For the double pillar with the base, how much will we have to put out for that? Is that the 15,570? Can you wing numbers off like right off the bat there?
I have to say what you guys have.
Okay,
Are you guys doing the admin?
let's put it this way, the double pillars with the arch, no lettering.
The lettering? All right, so it's,
Take your time.
Go with the better.
Does everyone want to go with the better one, the nine? The nine, okay.
I'm coming up with 36,955.
Did you say double pillar? Did you say double?
That's the double pillar, though.
Yeah.
That seems a little low, yep.
No, that's wrong, sorry, hang on.
I mean, if you want to quote that, that's great.
I've got like 44, 880, or 830, okay.
44,830.
I didn't bring my
And how much extra for the lettering on the bottom? It
36,45 for both sides.
well, what other side is there?
Both
I mean-
sides of the page. The sign's both sides.
But doesn't the other side face the building?
No.
Oh, it's going to be sideways. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how the old sign was.
So we would be putting out 11,926.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. If you take the 44,830 and take out what we already have in the budget, that would be an additional 11,962. Yep. That would be my preference. I'll let everyone else throw in their 2 cents.
Yeah, I guess my concern is the same as Jason's is, this thing was hit once, theoretically it could get hit again, so it's not just for the aesthetic stand, but I think it's also to protect the expensive sign we have. I think the double pillars will help for that. I'd like to see the lettering on the bottom, but we don't have to add it today, we can add it tomorrow or next year.
Yeah, I guess the protection is a nice feature, but maybe in a later discussion, when we're discussing other board issues, we'll be focusing a camera and a license plate reader out there, so nobody hits it and gets away with it again. But that's one of our other topics.
Crystal, Terry, do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the double fill. The double pillars are nice, the arch is nice. If that's what everybody agrees upon, then that's what we go with.
And the logo's free, correct? How about you, Crystal?
The light tan color I like the arch idea. I don't like the double pillar. I think we need to start establishing an aesthetic that's going to go with the VMU.
Well, actually, the double pillar does goes with the village mixed use. We're going for an historical small town character.
I disagree.
Yeah, you said we'll have a chance to take a look at the various substrates or whatever you want to call it. I've been personally, again, I know it's important to match the character of the town, but I think it's also, these bricks, if you do the bricks, there'll be various, it's not going to be uniformity in color of bricks. Usually there's various tones. Is that the way?
Depending on whatever style you guys get.
Yeah.
So you have certain bricks that are all the same color, you have ones that have different tones. It depends on what everyone does.
So these options here aren't all you have.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to refrain from making anything until I see what's available.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good point. I'll wait too.
Well, I think that's why, like, if you guys like the color of like the Wawa, CVS, and Dunkin', then we can kind of come up with that kind of color palette.
The only thing I can say I don't care for is too much texture. I kind of like something a little flatter, but that's just my own personal aesthetic. That's all that is. I'm not a fan of like that stacked stone look, but that's just me.
Yeah, why don't we look at some samples and we can reach that decision later?
Okay, so what's the next step, Jason?
I guess.
Sounds like we sort of have consensus on some things.
Double pillar, arch, no lettering on the bottom,
9mm.
and 9mm. So I think
No, 9's the good one.
9 has the better.
Yeah. It's the other way, yeah. Yep.
It works the opposite.
So you can either do like a not to exceed tonight, or we can put it on the general meeting and formally bless to get this moving forward. It's kind of up to you guys. As Eric said, we can hash out the color. I think it's just, if this is what,
It seems like the consensus is going that direction. Okay. Do you want to put it on to the next meeting?
yeah, I
to
mean,
bless it?
that way you'll have a
That'd be
clean quote. We'll be able to, and we'll have a couple
fine. All
of
the
weeks.
design stuff can come afterwards. Fabulous. Okay. Right. And of course, font, typeface, that whole thing. Okay.
I take this is gonna be a concrete foundation, and then you're gonna block it up from there, and then you're gonna use the El Dorado like stone or brick.
Well, so what we do an angle iron cage.
Yep.
We basically cover that with plywood, treated plywood, weather stripping, everything like that around
And you're
it.
gonna plaster it, and then El Dorado
So
stone,
it's not
okay.
real stone though, it's textured plywood.
No, I know what it is, yeah.
So the foam gets mounted to that structure there, and then we kind of seal it in from there. But everything, it's not built with like actual cinder block or anything like that, we just do a raw iron cage.
Okay. All right, I follow you on it, 100%.
Okay. Well then, we'll put this on for the next meeting.
Yep, with a clean, like I said, clean
Terrific.
quote.
Can I ask one additional question? So the materials you're using, even the bricks aren't real bricks.
Nope.
It's basically a quarter of the cost of what real stone brick is right now.
Yeah.
So then one pillar versus two probably wouldn't even make a difference if it got hit then, right? Right. I really don't think we should be paying more than what we should. 2 pillars for that price, and it's not gonna really help with anything that's gonna damage it. I mean, that's a lot of money. That now I can really say that's a lot of money.
I think it's an aesthetic. I think the majority wants to have the double pillars. It fits like more of a historical look than the L, which is more of a traditional modern look. And we already knew that we were going to be putting money out of pocket. Actually, it was, I I think it was higher than the 11,962. The last time we were told it was closer to 15,000. So this is actually a reduction in money out of pocket, and we get the two pillars and the arch at the top. I think it's a win-win.
So what was the out-of-pocket if we would have chosen the one pillar?
You're looking at like 41, between 41 and like 41.5, I think. From the 44.
What was the difference between the two?
It's 2,700, actually, no, it's gonna be more, it's gonna be more than that. Sorry, 5, 7, 8, 6, 4. You're taking 40, so actually, it's below 40,000. It's like
For
39, and
the-
it's like 39 and.
For just the one pillar?
For the one pillar.
Just something to think about. I mean, I know that we're scrunching and penny pinching, as we want to say, especially when we have trucks that we have to buy and other things that we have to get as far as equipment. Certainly something to think about.
Okay, point taken, Crystal, thank you.
I wonder if there's another option other than a pillar, but to put some kind of a border around the sign. Jason, can you put up this other one that I sent you? Is that handy? Because that looks like it has a little bit of a border around it. Yeah, so something like that that has kind of a little border around it, but it's not an actual pillar. Is that something you can do, or is that?
Yeah, that top sign is actually stamped concrete, so that whole thing is actually a concrete monument.
So that's a completely different thing.
Completely, the way it's built is completely different than what we're building. I can't do like the stone around the actual header part, because that's actual concrete.
So it has to be separate.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to go with just having the pillar on the left-hand side, so at least that would be facing the street.
Can I ask, so would that make the sign a little bit more stable if it's concrete that's around that?
Yeah, but also a lot more expensive.
Okay, okay,
You're basically stamping the lettering in it.
gotcha, okay. Thank you.
And a question for Jason, so if anything happened to this, we're going to be covered for the full price, presumably. I mean, how would our insurance work on this?
When this is complete, then I will give the updated, like what we paid for it. Because that's how we ended up with the 19,000, is we received a comparable quote to what we had. So that's why we ended up with the amount that we got back from the insurance company when it got hit before.
And what we had was actual brick, right?
Yeah, that was brick. Yeah.
Well, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, well, it stands while we move forward with what we discussed, get some final numbers, and then we'll move forward next Tuesday, unless we get some different information.
So there will be additional discussion before we make a final decision.
I don't see that this isn't in any rush, so sure, we can have another conversation, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do admit, I'm not a big fan of the faux stone type, especially in an area where most of the houses that are made out of stone are made out of real stones. So I want to ponder this a little bit more now that you tell me that it's a wire cage covered with pressure-treated plywood, and then with, what do you call it, a stucco around it, and then styrofoam blocks pressed to it. That's a completely different thing than I envisioned in my head when I see some of the other townships and their signs, like Swanksville, looks like it's, I believe that's real brick, at least felt that way when I linked on it. So I have some things to ponder then, thank you.
Yeah, I also did go price for this.
Well, it doesn't have to be real stone. It could be the El Dorado stick-on. You plaster it, and they set it in, and it looks like okay. And that's what they did up at the circle. Okay, they put a block setup up, and then they plaster it, and you stick that stuff on. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I'll do it.
You know, real stone will kill you. I mean, it'll eat you up.
Yeah, I figured real stone. So I was thinking maybe the bricks would be those, where they're real bricks, but they're cut in half kind of thing. I think they're actually manufactured that way, but,
Yeah, they're called veneer,
yeah, okay.
so I'll do an option like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next item on our agenda this evening is admin request for the township building cameras and door entry discussion.
I'm sorry, we did have a hand up.
We do have a hand up. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. The Brian, 11 Zieglerville Road, Brian Hill 11. This question is for Jason. You mentioned there was a budget of, I believe you said $34,000 for this sign. Of that $34,000, what part of it was insurance money that was coming due to the damaged other sign? Does that include? Can you give me a breakdown of that?
It was like 19,000 and change. And the other part is the grant we received, the LSA grant we received.
So the 19 plus the grant, and what total was that? Was that $34,000?
$32,904.50.
Okay, so out of our pocket, if we were going to go above that, that's where we're talking about taking something out of the general fund to pay for this.
Correct.
Okay, so you're talking about somewhere about $10,000, $11,000 more than what we currently have between the insurance and grant. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right, just to clarify, because you were throwing a lot of numbers around and wasn't sure exactly what was
Yeah, it gets a little
allocated for what.
confusing. Yeah,
Yeah, appreciate for clarity. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. I'm sorry, the next item is the township building cameras and door entry discussion.
Just for the board's edification, I did see Tyler from Verkada jump on, so if you guys have questions, this is the first time you guys have seen the camera stuff and the door entry, but we've been talking about it for a few years now, so. All right. All right, history and funding. Why are the cameras and door entry important in 2026? Deterrent, controlled access, objective documentation, workplace safety and security. Presently, the only cameras we have are an Amazon camera purchased by the police for their front door and internal cameras within the administrative area that do not record. We also have no way to securely track our door entry as keys are distributed. Where do we need cameras? The township building, public works building, sewer plant, and the pump stations. Where do we need door entry? The township building, sewer plant in the future. Budget. For the past 3 years, we have had cameras and door entry placed in the CIP for purchase. The total budgeted for cameras and the door entry, total for cameras is $33,000. That's both general and sewer fund. And the door entry is $18,455. And these would be both budgeted in the CIPs for both those funds. This is the breakdown for the cameras that we budgeted for this year. $10,000 for the township building cameras, $5,000 for the public works cameras, $8,000 for sewer plant, and $10,000 for the pump station. And of course, the door entry is $18,455. So next slide this is the location. So we did have Harris Technology come out, and they actually provided this diagram for us from our township building plans. So one of the main goal for the township building, besides having cameras that would record, would be also to have 360 around the building. Right now, we have nothing in the back of the building. And since we don't have fenced-in area, I mean, technically, somebody could do whatever they want back there, and we wouldn't see it.
We got the cops back there.
So altogether, we'd be looking at 7 cameras to be installed for the township building, 2 on the interior, and then 5 on the exterior. As far as the Public Works building, which of course we know has a lot of traffic with Coble Park there, so it has a lot of foot traffic and residential traffic. We'd just be looking at 1 exterior camera to be installed at this corner here. And the cameras are like dome cameras, so it's not just like one direction, it kind of gives you right term. And Tyler
But
may have
multiple lenses in one housing. So for this here corner, you might have a 4-camera multi-sensor. It's one device, 4 lenses pointed all different directions, accomplishing a lot of, field of view area covered with a single device. We also have dual head, but for this instant, it would be a 4-camera multi-sensor.
Thanks, Tyler. And that's kind of what we'd be proposing for the township building also. That's why I think one of the initial quotes I got for like directional cameras, I think we were almost like at about 13 to 14, trying to cover all of the areas of the township building. So that was one of the things with the technology that we wouldn't need as many cameras, which obviously the less cameras we have, the less chances of things breaking. As far as the sewer plant, we've got 2 proposed, one on the front of the admin building, I guess you'd call it for all intents and purposes, that would be showing the storage container, the plant itself, and then back behind there, kind of covering the full part of the sewer plant. The pump stations, I think that's self-explanatory where you see those being placed. As far as the camera pricing, as stated, we had a total budget of $33,000. The current quote that we got from Harris Technology, $35,291.32. There would be a monthly charge of approximately $318, and that's for the data plan for the cameras. That's going to have to do with the recording, and that stuff would be going up to the cloud, which is kind of a. Oh, sorry.
Jason, if I may, on the monthly charges. So everyone, my name's Tyler. I'm at Verkada. I live locally. I'm in Thornton, Pennsylvania, down in Delaware County. I had the privilege of walking all these sites too, so feel very confident in the layout. You guys, a lot of townships that I work with have existing wireless plans for police, for EMS, whatever the case may be. You see FirstNet used all the time. Some folks have Verizon. You can use your own. These are just proposed in the event that you do not have an existing relationship with a carrier. So just a tidbit there, like if you guys have, a special contract for SIM cards, does not have to be done through Harris Technology or Verkada. It's just if you do not, here's the approximate cost on a monthly rate.
And we do, and that would be one of the next steps would be for us to talk to Verizon. They're our wireless carriers, and that's what we've got in the pump stations where we have wireless capabilities, to Tyler's point.
So that amount could potentially be less.
Yes.
Great.
We just didn't want it to be forgotten if it becomes a cost on top of the equipment. So as far as the breakdown, this is essentially the breakdown of the quote that received of 14,629 for the township building, 4,761.76 for public works, 7,287.38 for the sewer plant, and then 4,300 each for the 2 pump stations. As a note, we will be getting 2 additional quotes from Delco Solutions Land Tech once the Board of Supervisors provides us with some direction, whenever that happens.
Did you say you're getting another quote?
We would be getting more quotes. Right now, this is just kind of conversation, so that way we're not you guys aren't overwhelmed with all the pricing, so we can kind of nail things down. Tyler is actually with Verkada, because Verkada is, before I ran into, or Tyler and I kind of discovered each other, that's what I was bumping into as far as a top brand. So he's been helping us through this and kind of connecting us with the vendors. The Delco guy, I met and had come out before, and then, so Verkada's a top brand,
Okay.
so.
So the way this would work would be, we have the cameras. If someone tries to vandalize any of these areas or break in or something funky's going on, who's gonna view it?
I mean, this would be something we would have
People have to be
access.
trained to view it, or?
One question would be, is it gonna have like a live feed? Because if we get a call, at least we can, like, I would envision, I know we had talked about it, where we'll have the TV with all the cameras that are live feed.
Yeah, is it a live feed or is it just recording?
Tyler, it's a live feed, correct?
Live, correct. Yep. And just so a high level for everyone on the call, a few value adds right off the top, right? You have your retention of your camera, which is just, hey, I am storing live clips for 30, 60, 90 days, whatever you guys go with. Most folks go with 30-day standard retention. That's retaining live camera footage. You also get with Verkada unlimited archives. So if you guys, I work with a lot of police, if you guys save a clip, archive a clip for an active investigation, that clip never goes away unless you guys delete it, but it never goes away. So that's a very important factor for a lot of folks, because investigations may pop up 6 months, 12 months later. And with most systems out there, you lose that after that retention period. So that's a value add. All of your hardware is backed by a 10-year hardware warranty. So in year 9, it craps the bed. You guys put in a ticket with Verkada. We do a basic troubleshoot, deem it faulty. We are sending you out a new device next day. So there's a lot of those little tidbits that you're not going to hear of right off the bat or know, that I always like to add as immediate value adds, and that is, there's no add-on cost for any of that. So just so you guys know, and yes, it is live. I could show you guys if you want. It would take 5 minutes to run you through it, but I will leave that to the board and Jason's direction.
Yeah, maybe if the board wants, if we want to get through the presentation, and then Tyler can do, which is what he did for Becky and me, which was pretty amazing. So if you'd like to we can get through this, and then.
If it's anything like we have, it's live, it's taped, okay? So when that guy come in and installed the truck and the trailer and the machine, we brought it up the next morning because we realized it was missing. And we caught him crossing Zieglersville Road with our corner camera, walked up a little bit, turned and walked in the parking lot, walked straight back to the truck, opened the door and got right in it. We followed him every inch, even when he pulled up and realized the truck was connected, then he stopped and then he left with it. And we followed him right on out. And then the camera in the truck picked him up from there and right to Quakertown. We tracked it and found it in Quakertown that morning in the parking lot. So we were right on it. We had a picture of him and all, and that's how we got him. And the cops were surprised of how clear everything was. So it works. It's a nice setup.
So you're a fan of this?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's after that.
So Noel, what you missed is,
He's going to show us,
yeah, after, I
Okay.
figured if we get through the presentation, and then he can kind of show you,
okay,
if
great.
that's all right, just that way we don't.
Thank you.
All right, as far as the cameras, on the quote, they did include a bucket truck rental for a day. It was confirmed that it wouldn't be anticipated more than one day for the project. Harris confirmed there should be no other additional costs other than what is listed in the quote, as installation is included. And as we previously discussed, we do have Verizon, so that's who we'd be talking to see how we would handle the data coming from the cameras. All right. I guess let's go through the door entry, because I think you can show them that too, Tyler, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
Jason, a quick question before you move on. How are these cameras, where are they getting their electricity from? They still have to be powered by something. Are they connected to, electrical at the building? Or are they powered off a battery? I mean, I'm just curious because, we lose power in this township pretty regularly,
they be hardwired, correct, Tyler?
Correct. Yep. Within the Harris quote, they are doing, Cat 6 runs or Cat 5e runs wherever they need to be. Yep.
That was part of the walking around the township building, of course, with the generator. So power, we shouldn't have that.
So the township building would be okay, because we
Yep.
do have the generator, but the, Delphi, I'm worried about vandalism. It seems
Oh, the
to
pump
be on the
stations
rise.
both have generators.
Okay.
The sewer plant has a generator.
Okay. So we have backup on that, so,
Yeah.
okay. sounds
I mean, the positive part is knock on wood, I don't believe we've had vandalism before. This is just, sorry, I know, I shouldn't have said it, but. All right. Door entry. On the quote, we had a total of 3 door entry access controls for the township building. It'd be the front admin door, the back downstairs police door that goes into the back of their area, and then their front door.
Sorry, Chief, what do you have now for your front door?
Our standard key, but there's so many different sets of keys out there, it's a very big safety
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
And I think when we talked about this, probably during budget time, Chief was really wanting key fobs, so that way, if they do have someone in custody, that they're not trying to get keys out, and that would be another aspect to the,
Yeah, it's a lot easier to swipe a fob and bring somebody in the building than fumbling with a key. Safety thing.
as far as the door entry pricing, we budgeted $18,455. The quote we have from Harris currently is $14,361.75. The key fobs was an added price, which I believe we got today. For a total of 50, it would cost us $427 for the key fobs. So
I'm just curious, we know what the lifespan of the cameras or the warranty on the cameras. Is there any kind of similar warranty on the doors?
10-year.
10 years as well, thank you.
And once again, moving forward, we'd get those 2 additional quotes, especially with this project being in that threshold of 3 quotes. As stated, key fobs will need to be purchased. There's no fee to access the command portal, which is where we can view our cameras, control access, control permissions, et cetera. And you can do that on a laptop, desktop, computer. As Tyler stated, warranties for both 10 years for both the cameras and the door entry. Next steps. Do we feel comfortable with with where all the cameras are and the door entries located. And I can say that was Harris who came out, so this is kind of based on their expertise and talking to Chief as far as the doors that we would feel we would want to have that.
So
the doors.
you did weigh in on this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, when they
Okay.
came around, Chief was, yeah, he, just like Tommy was with, when we were at the sewer plant. So I did have the department heads involved in
The one other thing I'd like to add too is with the live feed on the cameras, we had, depending upon the situation, we can see who's around the building. So if we have a victim here, it's a safety thing to prevent any type of ambushes or assaultive behavior so if you guys move forward with it, it's nothing but positive for both our residents, victims, and the staff who are here sometimes at out hours.
I was kind of paying attention to the portion about over at the Public Works building. Is there going to be visual on the park itself too, or is it just the Public Works Department?
And so Tyler explained it's like four, so it's
Yeah,
aiming those
right.
directions. So part of it was like where the dumpster is, where it's kind of covering the parking area, the parking lot and that area.
But not actually like the park itself?
I mean, you can see who's accessing the park, of course, unless they're, coming through the
Okay.
back end, but
Right.
it's covering that parking area. I think we'd be able to probably catch part of the pavilion. It's obvious that, I mean, that would be the one thing maybe, if we look to put something else at the back corner, but I mean,
It has a lot to do on where it's positioned.
Yeah.
Right.
Of how it can cover. If you have an overhang and you have out in the corner of that, up and underneath the eave, that thing can cover this side of the building and this side of the building, and it covers the whole parking lot. It's amazing how much
Yeah.
they can cover.
yeah, we were trying to maximize, obviously, the cost and, getting the most bang for our buck and not kind of overdo with,
Got it, okay.
There's 4 on our building, and it covers everything all the way around. It covers the circle, it covers 29, and it covers down to Zieglersville Road. So you can see it all. And that was, he was coming in there at midnight.
Yeah.
when
And
we
that,
seen him.
and that was one thing, obviously, with the Public Works area, it is fenced in the back area and stuff. Not that people can't, but, short of them coming in the back end area through the neighbor's property and stuff, I mean, that's,
Just a point, given the fact that we're going through this expense, and we know the cost of playground equipment is pretty steep. I think we would be well to consider the parks that have equipment to have some means of visualizing that, because that's the stuff that I hear was recently vandalized in a different township. And that set them back considerably. I mean,
we've had our stuff, I mean, it's been primarily graffiti, but yeah, it's not a matter of if, it's always when
Yeah.
that something's gonna happen on the playground equipment, that it's either broken or vandalized usually it's the graffiti that's.
yeah, I mean, and I'm just thinking the cost to clean it up, I mean, is sometimes what they tore up at this one park is the rubberized surface, which is like unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
So I would definitely want to consider, if eventually or somehow that could be tacked in our parks. I mean, we don't have that many yet, but, so.
Oh, that's the thing, is kind of adding on to the system as we kind of progress.
Yeah.
Once we kind of see how things work and.
Okay.
Sherry, do you have a question? Can you-
Sherry Schweikert, Schwank Road.
Sherry, you gotta get close to the.
Sherry Schweikert, Schwank Road. In addition to the quotes from the providers, for budgetary purposes, you might want to think about other ancillary costs. Do we need extra signage? Are we going to need additional monitors so that the live feeds can be viewed in areas as you're doing your budget?
Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Okay. I guess, do you feel any cameras or door entry should be removed or added? I mean, that's kind of, I think, what we're talking about, like,
Okay, so I'm just looking at numbers that I have here. So we have a budget for this, and we're
Yes.
looking at, if I add them up between the door entry and the cameras, it's $51,455.
Yeah, right.
That's what we have to work with. No, that's the budget, not the cost, but that's the budget, yeah. So, but the cost, the figures you have on the back here for the township building, this is $28,065, and that is what, just the cameras?
Now, that's going to be the cameras in the door entry.
Cameras and the door entry?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the door entry was 18,455, and then for the township building was 10,000. The way we budgeted.
And that includes the 50 fobs, right?
Okay, hold on. So the budget for
Yes.
2026 is $51,455.
That's including all fund, yeah, both between the sewer fund and the general fund and where we budgeted within the CIP.
Okay, $51,455. And the figures I'm looking at the back here that are $28,065 this is the cost? Like, I'm confused.
It's not the cost, that would be the total budgeted number.
So I can add that 2865 to the 51,455?
No.
No, okay.
That's,
So this is written in a way that is not very clear to me, so,
okay. Where are you looking?
the very first page.
On the summary? I don't know where you're looking at 28,000.
Oh, I see.
Back page. Township Building, 14,629, Public Works, 4761, Sewer Plant, 7287, Pump Station, 4306, Pump Station 2, 4306.
Okay,
So what do those figures entail? What are those figures?
okay.
That was the cameras,
This is just the cameras.
yes. And then the 14,361 is the door entry. So that, I'm sorry, that's not the budget, that would be what's in these quotes.
This is, what is the budget for all of this, then?
Is the budget 50, yeah, basically, I think Noel's right. The budgeted you have for 2026 is 33,000 for cameras and 18,450 for the doors, which is 51,000 and change.
$455, so that is the budget, okay. And the figure on the back for 2865 is just
That's from the quotes.
for what specifically? This the cameras and the door entry, or is this?
You keep saying 28, but are you adding the township bill? I still don't know where the 28,000 is coming from.
Cost for the cameras I have here is $35,291.32.
Right.
Okay?
That's at the bottom, right?
That's the bottom, okay, the bottom of it. The budget was 33,000, am I correct?
Yes.
For cameras, okay.
And then the budget for the door entry was 18,000,
Yeah,
and the
that's
quote we
correct.
have is 14,000.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't know where you're getting the 20.
Okay, so I added everything up, I should not have done that. So it's 33 and 18,455.
That's the budgeted number, yeah.
Okay.
Right, and 35 and 14, which is 49. So the quote we have is less than our budget. We have to see the two other
Right,
quote, yeah.
okay.
One other thing, Jason, or whoever should answer this. A system like this obviously would occasionally go through an upgrade and so forth. Is that do we have like a support agreement with whoever we wind up getting this from, so that if there are periodic software updates and so forth, that they come through? How is maintenance of that nature handled, that type of support?
Yeah, I can take it, Jason. So all of your firmware and software updates to both the camera and access control units are passed through the devices natively. So there is no hands-on for any of the firmware updates and software updates.
Okay, if there's like changes in the way the systems are interacted with, is there support to explain those up? I mean, because I only have a slight visual in my mind of how the interaction is going to go with this equipment, but I imagine depending upon what kind of updates you do, you might have a different way to interact with it at some future point in time than you do presently.
Yeah, correct. I mean, so two trains of thought here, right? Like Verkada, you guys can always, Jason, Chief, you guys can always contact myself, our team. We're going to help through any issues or enhancements that have been made. I myself run quarterly updates, so I will update the entire staff of changes made, enhancements made to the platform. And then Harris is located right in Chester County. So they are close, they are very hands-on, white glove service. If something needs to be replaced, a warranty device is sent, needs to be mounted, camera needs to be repositioned, they're a short call away.
And is that is that covered in our initial purchase of how is if there was if we came up with a need for that type of service for whatever reason, would we have to budget it separately?
Well,
So
obviously
Dan, are you asking that, and understand this, I think he's asking that, say we have a storm or something that knocks our cameras out and we can't get them to work. And we got to call you. Is that extra cost? Or are you maintaining these cameras for us? Is that what you're really asking, something like that? I mean,
That's actually a very good question.
Okay.
Something else I would ask. I'm actually talking about, in addition to that, Perry, I'm also referring to these things go through periodic updates, and it sounds like the updates are pushed through, which is fine, which is great. That means there's no human interaction. However, usually, sometimes it changes the user interface. And
I follow you on that.
yeah, and that means sometimes people need to get trained because it looks different to them, or they don't know the way to get to the way they used to do it.
Yeah, so to answer that one, we're here, right? If there's any updates that change the platform interface at all, the end user experience, you're going to hear from us before you even see it. And we're going to provide the training for you guys free of cost. Like that's never going to cost you anything. As for replacement of camera, again, they're warranted within 10 years, so there's no cost there. I don't work at Harris Technology, so I can't speak to any kind of T&M for any sort of man hours that would be needed for such replacements or remounts or repositions. But what I can tell you is I've worked with them a very long time, and they're very honest in how they approach those aspects. So if it's something that they had done wrong upon initial installation, where condensation might get in it or whatever the case may be, right? It's a piece of technology. They will fix those. You will not be charged for that. Obviously, additional cameras, additional access control units. If you guys close the pump station, need to move them from one location to another. Again, I can't speak to that, but I'm sure that there would be, a one-time charge for those sort of activities.
So like as far as like a service maintenance agreement, which I think is kind of what you're talking about, I didn't go that far with them. So that would be something obviously that would, we would determine if we were moving forward. So I don't have an answer what that would cost right now.
Okay, is there more?
So Tyler, if you want to go through you should be able to share your screen.
Can everyone see this? Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Yeah, we can see it. Go ahead.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'll just quickly high level run through cameras and door access control, right? I already added a few value adds at the beginning there. This search bar here, like Chief, this is a game changer for a lot of the guys that I do work with, Darby, East Lansdowne, some of the badder parts of Delaware County. You can take a brief description that you get, from anyone, right? And you can just type it into this system, and it's going to search the entire system for a male wearing a red coat. So you have these capabilities within our platform that act very quick, and they're going to siphon through information like this historically, right? And as you see, you hover over, and it's going to show you the live clip of that individual, right? So again, I'm going to show you some high level stuff. Ask questions if you have them. As you see, I hover over this. This is all live, all of these cameras. So the 4-camera multi-sensor, for example, something you guys will be leveraging, you can either have them split up like this, or you can have them all individual lens photos. Most people do this. It's all one camera, these 4, but split 4 different ways, okay? If you click into the camera, everything I'm doing on this right now, you can do on your phone. All right. So remote access, remote usability is super friendly. You have the ability of quickly sharing footage via text. I could send it to any of you guys right now, and you'd have this live clip for an hour, right? Obviously, you guys have the discretion of managing the users and the access levels within Lower Frederick Township. That's not on anyone except for you guys to determine who has access. Okay. But your ability to share footage, super simple. You don't have to go and do the old thumb drive download like that doesn't, not on our system. Okay. You have the ability of live face blurring, right? If there's young kids involved, like this picture, you can face blur the individuals, both in live and saved clips. You have the ability of using these camera overlays, so you can tie in other cameras within the camera you're looking at and peek around the corner, peek down the sidewalk. Oops, sorry, wrong camera. Peek down the sidewalk. You're going to see the live, you'll actually see that guy walking up right now, or girl. Okay. You guys will have the ability of searching very easily. You get a time and date, you can put it in these filters, scroll over this. We're going to tell you when people are identified. Don't focus in on this black area. Go to the blue ticks. You're going to see the green squares. We tell you when people are identified. Saving police, anyone involved, a lot of time scrolling through photos or, videos. To save it, go ahead, click in. You can add as many cameras as you want into the same clip. It's going to have the same times, same date. To archive a clip, again, unlimited archives on Verkada. Create the archive, drag and drop, throw some notes, put it in that clip into an existing investigation or incident, and create. It's as easy as that. All your archives will live here for the individual camera you're looking at. All of the archives for all of your cameras at Lower Frederick Township will be here. You guys have the ability of identifying people. A couple filters here. Guy or girl is wearing brown top. Filter by that. You can mark a person as a person of interest. What that means is very important. Bad actor in Lower Frederick Township or surrounding areas has been seen on a Verkada camera. This is how you do it. Mark as a person of interest, POI. The next time that individual is seen on a Lower Frederick Township camera, police are alerted right away and they can act, right? You can also upload images of anyone. So mugshot of a dude or a bad dude from a Wawa down the street, whatever the case may be, you can upload it here. It's going to do the same thing. Okay. Proactive investigations. Vehicles. Now, this camera here is not an LPR, license plate recognition camera. We do have those. This is not one, but you still have the ability of filtering through some basic features to find some vehicles, right? So think your pump stations, parks, we had a white Tesla roll up. Like you can just find that very easily here. You can even just search in the search bar I showed you before. Excuse me. Any questions? I know I'm running through it quick. I just don't want to take up too much time.
Speaking for myself, this has been really illuminating and showing exactly the capabilities of this system. It's just amazing. I love the search ability.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's only scratching the surface. But yeah, and it's easy, right? Like I'm no rocket scientist, but it's easy to get through, and people learn it very quickly. And as I said before, the software and firmware updates that are pushed through since I've been at Verkada have not changed the way this platform looks. It's really just, hey, instead of you having this one alert, you have 10 alerts now. For example, you guys can set up proactive alerts for cameras. You can do anything. Select your camera here. We want to be alerted if there's a slip and fall outside the township building. We will alert you right away. If anyone's climbing over a barrier at the pump station, you can draw a grid and you'll be alerted. If there's fighting going on, all of that is actively, um, you know, alerted for. So just another value add within the system for you guys, to think about and to leverage. Going back, go ahead.
And then I know something he showed us with the door entry is you can remote open doors, which is one of the things, like especially with the front door. Like we had the library was here Thursday night. If we could be at home I could be at home on a phone or open or scheduled to have it open and closed. That's the one thing with the door entry. I know the fire company has something like that where somebody doesn't have to be here to open the door, close it, lock the door. He showed us that was they were set up that the doors would open. So that was something with the door entry and how kind of works together. That was impressive.
Yeah, and just to kind of double click on what Jason said. So this is the door entry system, what it looks like. This is the platform. With the cameras, you guys can integrate the cameras to be able to look at the door that's currently locked, right? So this door has a access control, unit. This is where your key fobs or key cards would go. This camera is just a context camera, but it's specifically laid out to put eyes on who's coming in and out of that door. You guys have the ability of overriding. Let's say there's a board of supervisors meeting or a public meeting, and you guys typically have a schedule where the doors are locked Monday through Friday, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., right? You can override these very easily to allow contractors, anyone that might need access to something and doesn't have a fob or key card, the access they need. This is that unlock feature. And again, everything I'm doing, you can do on your phone. I'm in Philadelphia. This is in California. I just unlocked this door. You're going to see my name pop up here. So just click of a button, good to go. You guys can filter out by all these events. Who is trying to force open a door? Who is tailgating? One person uses their key fob. 3 people follow that individual without key fobbing in. We will record every incident like that. You guys can run reports for this daily, weekly, monthly, whenever. Okay. Chief, you had mentioned keys and how that's problematic. Someone leaves the department, is fired, whatever the case may be. You guys have the ability to easily go in here, go to your profile. Oh, bad example, sorry. Let's find one here we go. Go to the profile, scroll down. You're going to see the credentials here. You guys have the ability of instantaneously activating, deactivating, marked as lost, or deleting a key card or key fob. So if that person left Lower Frederick Township building and a minute later you did this and they tried to turn around, they would not be let in. Okay, it's that easy. If you lose a card, add it, print it. Don't need to call 1-800 anymore. You guys have the ability to do it all. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Your schedule is simple, like drag and drop, whatever you guys want, your discretion on the schedules, when they're locked, when they're unlocked. If you guys do have door exceptions, again, BOS meeting, public meetings once a month, kids event, Christmas party, right? You can put it in here, and what that does is On the 9th of June every year, we have a special meeting and it needs to be unlocked from 6 to 8 when normally it's locked. Just do your door exception calendar for those specific dates and they will be unlocked. You won't have to worry about it same day. Okay. Any questions at all?
I don't have any at the time. Does anyone else for Tyler? Okay, seeing none, what's next?
Awesome.
So what would be next step here?
I guess if the board so chooses to move forward with the projects, is we would get the additional quotes and present it to the board for a decision, if that's the consensus.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, it's good by me.
That's fine, okay.
Yep, all right. That'll be the next step.
Okay, thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Okay. Moving on to our next agenda item this evening, we have ordinance, village mixed-use discussion, and we have Mr. John Miklos, our representative from the county.
Supervisors, it's always nice to see you.
How you doing, John?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Did you want to kick it off? Did you want to speak to it, or would you rather have the board ask you questions, or?
No, sure, I can get started by just going through the memo since it provides an overview and goes section by section through the proposed revision to this chapter of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, I just have one real quick question before we start. Is what you provided us with this draft substantially complete, or did you have other things that you wanted to do to it?
So what I sent to you, I believe you could adopt or go forward for adoption if you wanted. There are revisions in there that are trying to address all the feedback that I received from supervisors.
Okay. All right, well, you can start if you want.
All right,
Can you just get maybe a little closer to the microphone?
sure thing.
There you go.
This
That's
is better? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't go on our recording and no one can hear it on Zoom.
Got it. Thank you, Marla. Okay, so first thing to note here is that the chapter starts off, as all of them do, with a legislative intent statement of what the township is aiming for, what the township wants, what the township doesn't want in this zoning district. This is a section that generally doesn't have any enforceable provisions in it. As such, there are no proposed revisions to this section. Going on then to uses permitted by right. This is the list that really has the biggest impact on what types of development appear in a zoning district. So I received a fair amount of feedback. There was also prior discussion before the board's involvement with the Planning Commission, all of which led to what you've had to review here, including a set of revisions at the start of the section here, adding additional residential types to the district. So in the current zoning district, there are kind of two different ways that residential types are handled. In existing buildings, those that are typically fronting right up there on routes 29 and 73, the flexibility is provided with duplexes and conversion, to help give more options for keeping these historic buildings. And the regulations for new buildings, new construction, specifies that they are meant to be some distance back from those, main arterials. The new added uses, which are taken from the R3 district and in one case the R4 district, are also subject to that same kind of distance, that same setback. So the intention here is that any new development that would have a primarily or largely residential character would not be popping up right up there on the arterial. We're not trying to change that intention of saving historic buildings, but just to ensure that residential development, should it occur here, would have a greater mix of types, as we'll discuss later on. So those uses that are proposed to be added, in addition to the single-family detached, which is already provided, is the duplex, now expanded beyond just the reuse of historic buildings. The lot line house, village house, patio house, single-family semi-detached, AKA twin, and two-family detached duplex are all uses taken from the R3, inserted here, and then taken from the R4 at the suggestion of the Planning Commission was the two-family semi-detached, which is something nicknamed the twin duplex to try and help explain exactly what that is. Going on then, the regulations for mixed-use buildings consisting of permitted residential use and one or more permitted non-residential use has been revised. So currently, the residential portion is limited to taking up the same area as the non-residential portion. Looking around the village, 2- and 3-story buildings are fairly common. So in order to build something that matches the character, kind of has the same sort of appearance and the scale and size, it might lead to such a building, having to either have a larger first story with some portion where a second story is not, over the footprint of the building, not extending the full footprint, which a lot of the buildings here tend to be fairly simple in shape, as older buildings are. Builders were very economical back then, and so we see a lot of fairly simple box shapes with those distinctive roof lines on top. So this is allowing a somewhat larger share of the building to be residential, so as not to either artificially cap them at 2 stories or require some strange, historically unprecedented building shape. Further on then, in the non-residential uses, I added co-working spaces within the business office use that was mentioned in some feedback I got. Certainly, we're seeing those uses popping up in more places now. Drive-through facilities were removed as an option for food and beverage establishments. They are now only included as an option for banks and other financial institutions. A new use, artisan producer retailer, was added. This is another one that is becoming more common, or it's a different way of considering some businesses we've already kind of, maybe become familiar with. So anything that has the production and retail on site tends to be fairly small quantities, but under some interpretation of zoning might be considered industrial or not to be primarily a retail use. And so this just kind of extends a little bit more recognition to those other types, such as bakers, distillers, brewers, soap and candle makers, for examples. Finally, undertaker/funeral home uses was revised to emphasize that crematorium facilities are not permitted in the village mixed-use district. Any questions before we go on to the next section?
I don't have a question, but could you possibly give a high-level overview so we have time for feedback? Because I think we have a lot of feedback for you, if that's okay, so we don't take up too much of your time.
Sure. Do you want to kind of survey of the whole suite of revisions across the chapter.
Are there any sections of this that no one has a problem with at all? Maybe we can skip over those.
I don't have a problem with the legislative intent.
Yeah. Of course, we anticipate the design book.
Could we maybe work through the ordinance? Would that be okay for the board if we just work our way through the ordinance?
Well, it's pretty much the ordinance, the summary is what is in the ordinance. I didn't have any questions on regulations for existing principal buildings. Placement of existing principal buildings, regulations, okay. Replacement of existing principal buildings, okay. Development regulations for all principal buildings. Village market use, conditional use standards and criteria, additional standards for residential developments. Or did we just want to maybe address John on the things that we were concerned about? Or that we had additional questions? Go ahead, Dan.
I'm happy if John wants to continue on in the direct, I mean, I think he'll get through this in a reasonable amount of time.
Fair enough.
I think that'll make it easier for you if you just continue in the fashion you've progressed so far.
Go ahead, John.
As you wish, okay. I do
Sorry.
want to be sensitive to the time and giving you adequate time to address feedback
Absolutely.
if you have specific areas you want to address.
Okay.
All right. Then we'll go through maybe a little quicker here. Use is permitted only by conditional use. Again, there's fewer conditional use in this district. Here, we've got the change from supermarket to grocery store, wanting to emphasize the nature of the business that's permitted here. And so everywhere else as well, that change is made. Warehousing is removed from the wholesaling use to make clear that warehousing is not permitted as a primary use in this district. It might be incidental, an accessory, but that's not a primary use here.
John, a quick question. In this section, one of the things is you mentioned hotels and motels are by conditional use only, but you've added INN, what character, an inn which I thought would be appropriate for our village mixed use without request, unless the definition that's used for an inn is specific such that it would make it not what I'm thinking an inn is. Does that make any sense to you? I mean, so I'm just trying to, first off, what is the definition of an inn? And why would, assuming your definition is something that I too would find objectionable in the village mixed use area, I'm just curious to know what it is.
So that is one where I added it to provide a more kind of expansive category. If you wish, that could be grouped with bed and breakfast as it is elsewhere in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. That sounds more like a bed and breakfast or like maybe bar establishment on the bottom floor with rooms above.
Yeah, that's where I was going, because the bed
The
and breakfast.
zoning ordinance doesn't define inn. Since our zoning ordinance doesn't define inn, it's going to be defined basically by Webster's. So that's what, either we define it, or it's going to be defined by common usage.
Okay.
And common usage basically means, how it's defined in dictionaries. And in this day and age, that means whatever you can find a definition online.
Okay. So we
But,
should probably
so
put a
that,
definition to it.
so if you, I can guess, I haven't looked it up, but you're going to find inn, generally, it's probably going to be very similar to a hotel, motel. all those three things are basically going to be describing the same sort of use. If we want to somehow differentiate those uses, if we want to somehow limit those uses because we don't want some, 500, room monstrosity, then we need to put that in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I guess where I was going, Peter, and maybe we do need to provide a definition, is if, for example, we establish this village, and somebody wants to put in an inn, which has a bar and a restaurant on the base floor and maybe 8 rooms upstairs, to me, that would be acceptable. But if they were going to put an inn with 3 restaurants, a spa, and, 150 rooms upstairs, that's not acceptable. So I guess I'm looking if we could come up with a definition, because that lines up more closely with the bed and
It's gonna-
breakfast.
What we need to be focused on, and I have some comments,
Okay,
which I'll hold back or, whenever.
okay.
One of them is we probably should be focused on limiting the size of a lot of these uses, because, yeah, we want retail, but we don't want Walmart. Yeah, we want
Put some caps.
hotels, but we
Yeah.
don't want a mega resort.
Right.
Yes, that sort of thing. So the way we control those things is define the uses, limit the sizes, limit the rooms, lot sizes, that sort of thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, if we can, like, we don't want anything over 3 stories. We don't want a 10-story Hilton hotel. So if we can come up with some reasonable limitation to square feet and height, then, and I would eliminate hotel and motel altogether.
Marla, are you referring to the height and size of the hotel motel use?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just like what Peter was saying,
Yes.
is limit the size, limit the number of stories, and that'll take care of it. You're not going to hotel come in here to build something for 10 rooms.
Right.
It won't happen.
Yeah, the
For
hotel and
reference-
motel are out.
Right, so
Could
Go
we
ahead,
also
John.
just take out the word "in," just so that it's clear and it's more of like, yes, a bed and breakfast is more suitable?
So I'll note that the word "in" appears one place in your zoning ordinance, in the community commercial district, where it is listed as a use permitted by right, the entry saying "in and/or bed and breakfast facility." So it's something that I think there's a slight precedent for to include with bed and breakfast. Like Peter says, I think we need a definition. I think I can provide something like that.
And
Sounds
a
like-
size limitation.
We need to start putting some caps
Yes.
on some of
Yeah,
the things
and
that
some
are
limit-
allowed, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to note, though, size limitations as currently established, excuse me, in the village mixed-use district, and largely retained with only the exception of the conditional use that we'll talk about, for non-residential uses is 15,000 square feet for all non-residential uses permitted by right. And I believe the height limit, there is a minimum height limit of 1.5 stories, and there is a maximum height limit established, which, as you said, multi-story hotels like 4 or 5, that would not be permitted.
So they're like 3
Thank you for the
stories.
clarification.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think ultimately, based upon your statement of 15,000 square feet, I think we may want to look at scaling that back for at least the ones where they're not going for conditional use.
Yeah, okay. And noting too that, as we'll get to with the dimensional standards, the maximum building height across the district is 35 feet. So, 3 stories. All right. And to cap off uses permitted only by conditional use, the final provision there in the current ordinance, or current section saying, uses determined by the Board of Supervisors to be of a similar nature and impact to the uses listed in this section is proposed to be removed. I believe that from past discussion, this was determined to be kind of open-ended, subject to, your discretion and It's not the kind of clear criteria that we like to have on the books.
Sorry, I have a question about contractor facilities and workshops. So I would say if somebody is a cabinet maker or a potter or whatever, those kinds of things, that's great. But if someone wants to come in and do auto repair, which is a whole different kind of activity, like how do we define what a contractor facility is and a workshop?
Let me look up that language for you.
Where is that within the scope of what we're looking at? Is that now, or is that going to come up?
So in the section,
Okay.
uses
You said-
permitted
okay,
only
got
by
it.
conditional
Oh, I'm
use.
sorry. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that could be interpreted in different ways, and I think some of those uses would be better in our industrial area. Like, we probably don't want writers to be in our village area. Those kinds of things, or, so like, how do we do it by noise? Do we do it by, I don't know. But if you have some ideas on where's the line between, let's say, so let's say a contractor is going to remodel kitchens and they have a showroom which has different things and people can come in and get a quote. That's a contractor facility, but a contractor facility which is just, for example, trucks being loaded up with rocks or things like that, that's also a contractor facility. So how can we draw the line between those two kinds of activities?
Based on your feedback here, I would recommend changing the way that these uses are described in here. So rather than having one point saying contractors, establishments, repair shops, and indoor trade schools, kind of listing off all of these vaguely related things in one point, I would separate it out, specifying, repair shops could be light repair, such as appliances, things that are generally carried in to a shop, and defined with examples to make that clear, versus auto repair shops, which, as you identified, might be better located in an industrial district, and I think would be perfectly valid ends to remove from the lists here in the VMU.
Could you provide some alternate language for that in the near future? That would.
Certainly, yes.
Thank you very
I
much.
think the discussion tonight is very illuminating for characterizing which types are wanted, out of the VMU.
Yeah, I would definitely concur with Marla with respect to, and your assessment of breaking this into, because it's too ambiguous to say contractors, establishments, repair shops, because bicycle repair shop, nobody's going to flinch at that or something. But if you're talking about somebody specializing in, I don't know, heavy-duty construction equipment, that's a repair shop too. But so we need to somehow, like you said, light repair versus heavy, and then properly define it without getting Peter too as he's furrowing. But so, no, that would be good. I mean, because every one of these can be could be expanded into something we don't like even indoor trade schools. So we'll have to get better. Thank you for working on it.
Sure thing. Moving on to the next section, prohibited uses. This is cut down dramatically. As was discussed early on, the general practice is all uses not listed as permitted uses by right, by conditional use, or otherwise are generally treated as prohibited. So it's proposed to simply read that all uses not listed in those preceding sections are prohibited in the VMU Village Mixed Use District. Wrapping that up. Going on to dimensional regulations. So with the introduction of those other residential uses, this section is expanded a little bit. So as to now have 3 subsections, A, B, and C. A addresses residential uses, B addresses non-residential uses, and C contains the provisions which apply to all uses in the district. In all sections, that is, applying to uses, whether they are by right or conditional.
I have a comment here. I know that in other parts of the township, our minimum lot area for a single-family detached is 12,500 square feet, but I feel that in the VMU, that is too large for minimum lot size. I'd like to see that reduced, and I'd like to hear what the rest of the board thinks.
I think we talked about this before and had a majority of us and pretty much agree that a single-family detached quarter-acre lot in village mixed use was a little excessive. You might as well pick up Farm View and drop it in the middle of village mixed use at that point. I think that needs to be reduced. I'd like to see something closer to 5, 6.
Okay.
Oh, I think, what would 0.15 acre be? If we go too small, we're not going to be able to build anything on it, right?
Right. Actually, Jason, would you be able to pull up my slides? I've got, oh, is it not?
0.15 acre.
0.15 acre.
That'd be 60,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's pretty small.
6,000.
No, 60. 1 acre is 43,560. One and a half acre is over 60,000 square feet.
So what's 12,500? Isn't that
A quarter of an acre, approximately.
So I'm asking for, if a quarter acre is 0.25, 0.15 would be smaller than 0.25.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you said 1.5.
No, 0.15, because I've lived in a house on 0.15 acre, and there's plenty of space, and that's a nice, respectable size.
That's about 6,000 square feet.
6534.
So maybe 6,500.
Like 65, yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't go bigger, but you can go that small.
Could we, instead of looking at the question that way, what is, in stereotypical villages within Pennsylvania, what would a typical lot size be in the middle of the village?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If the technology starts working, I actually have a graphic showing the lot sizes of the proposed uses. For comparison, I think the suggestion of 6,500 square feet will be an interesting point of comparison with those.
Let me ask you a question. What would a motivation be for a village mixed-use code to allow for some single-family dwellings on quarter-acre lots?
So
Is there like a reason for it?
it's largely drawing from the precedent of the neighborhood lotting. Since neighborhood lotting is permitted in the R2, which surrounds a lot of the VMU, I was kind of hybridizing VMU between R2 and R3, kind of coming in from either direction there. But as you say, this is a chance for VMU to kind of have Zieglerville, establish its own village identity. There we go. So what's illustrated here on the left, that leftmost lot, this is kind of an overhead view, and I apologize, those markings are rather small. That is the current minimum lot size stretched to the minimum lot width for a single-family detached home in the VMU, so 75 feet wide, and the minimum lot size being 15,000 square feet, excuse me.
So the intent would be narrow.
Yes, so that largely matches up with the general shape and some of the lot widths that are
Not just a rectangular
along the
lot with a
highway.
hat. But something that was narrow and long.
Yes, and so next to that, the first one in that group on the right is the single-family detached that was adapted from the neighborhood lotting. So it's slightly wider, and a little bit smaller in total area. So rather than 15,000, it's 12,500. Going to the right again, we've got the lot line house, then the village house, the patio house, the single-family semi-detached or twins, and the two-family detached duplex, and the two-family semi-detached twin duplex all the way over on the right. So I've adjusted those dimensions to match up with what was kind of established as a possibility in the R3, with taking those dimensions directly, which would allow for a 100-foot lot depth, with the thought that we want these developments, if they happen to have a mix of housing types, that they would be a little more compatible if they could all have a similar lot depth, so that they could be side by side along a block.
And I'm not proposing that if someone comes in here and wants to build on a quarter-acre lot, they can still do it, but if they would prefer to do smaller lots, and the houses are likely going to be smaller, we're probably not going to see 4,000 square foot homes in the village mixed use, so you wouldn't need it. They can build on a smaller lot, so there's no rule that they can't build on a larger lot, but they can go smaller, which I think would be consistent with what we're looking for.
Yes, and that's true. And something to keep in mind, of course, that we are establishing minimum requirements for the most part, that a proposal could always come in with a larger size. And we're establishing a floor in most cases. So is it the wish of the supervisors that the single-family detached be reduced in size? For reference, R3 currently has a 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, and in your R4, that's still 10,000 square feet.
And what does that equate to? Like 0.18 acres, 0.2 acres?
So 10,000 square feet is, if I just do some quick math here.
That's still a pretty
Yeah.
big lot. That's still,
Yeah.
I'd like to go down to closer to 6 or 7.
Okay.
Again, it's just a minimum. It doesn't mean they have to do it, but.
So for comparison, what's proposed for the village house, which is a small lot, single-family detached with a few design requirements, that is illustrated with 5,500 square feet. Kind of slots in there with the rest, as you see. So that's 55-foot lot width.
Well, if we took about half of 12,005, let's say 6,500, I don't know. What does everyone else think?
I don't think it should be reduced.
I think 7 would be a fair.
Yeah, so this would just be for this area, Crystal, only for the village area.
Right.
I don't think it should be reduced.
Do you have a reason? Like, I'm totally willing to hear it.
Absolutely. So I think that we're not really looking at the whole picture here. We have Lower Frederick Township supervisors that want to preserve our rural character, and building in smaller lots creates more congestion. It's taking away from it, and I'm going to stand firm. I don't like it. There could be 3, 4 votes against me. I don't think it should be reduced.
So to be clear, the village mixed use is located in a portion of our township that is considered our growth area. And that is where we would like to see the growth be. The preservation of the open space is for our outer portions in the rural rural resource area that we're actually.
I understand.
zoned for. Okay. So that's why the more we can put into an area is, that's where our growth area should go, so.
I disagree.
Dan, do you have any thoughts on this? 7,065, leave it at quarter acre?
You also, there's no requirement that you have a set minimum lot size for a particular house type. You can, I've seen ordinances where basically you can have like 3 different sized lots, small, like the 3 bears, baby, mama, papa. And then you put in a, percentage, okay, you're building a development, 25 or more have to be baby, 25 or more have to be mama, 25 or more have to be papa. So you get a mixture of different lot sizes, you're gonna get a mixture of different housing types. I think that probably better mimics what you're gonna see as an organically grown village.
Yes, yes.
I agree.
Likewise, you also can get it, as we have here, where we already have some different housing types with different lot sizes. So mandating more of a mixture of these housing types is also another way to get
So
different.
could we request percentages have a percentage of so much of this, a percentage, like the overall development, and say we want,
I normally would recommend giving minimums and maybe maximums, and then leaving it up to the developers to determine, I wouldn't
yeah.
want to say it has to be 33.5%, but I would say giving some minimum, like, okay, you can build between 20 to 70% of this housing type, but you have to have also 3 different housing types.
right. So I don't have an absolute objection to a quarter acre. I just don't want an entire development where everything is on a quarter acre. You get that kind of continuity.
Yes.
Where you don't get the kind of,
Well, and I
Next.
think, the difference between your standard suburban subdivision where you're going to,
Right.
and we see it in Farmview, Melbourne, where they're very standard sized lots. You're going to see a standard house. You might have 3 or 4 different layouts of the houses with 3 or 4 different fronts, but at the end of the day, they're very similar. With a village type of thing, you want more variety. The way you're going to get more variety is mandating different housing types, different housing configurations, and different lot sizes.
okay.
I like that, I think that would work, yeah. And so would you still have to define what the small, medium, and large would be? Like the small would be?
Yeah, you would define,
Like
you
the
could
lot
say,
sizes?
the small would be, a minimum of, 6,000, the medium minimum 8,000, the large a minimum 10,000. And I'd probably, for this, in this zoning district, I'd put a maximum too.
But, right, but still allow for these different types of,
Well, that would just be for single-family homes. And then I would also say, if you're built, if a development is of a certain size or larger, let's say 25 dwellings or larger, you're going to want to see 2 different housing types. And if it's, 40 or 50 units or larger, you want to see 3 different housing types. And then you put a percentage of, okay, you can be a minimum of 20% to a maximum of 50% of each housing type.
yeah, because I think, just again, speaking for myself, I think one of our goals here is for it to be walkable. And, this is a kind of housing we really don't have that much of. And if people are going to live in a place where they can walk and, go to the whatever, go different places and get on their bike. And a lot of people don't want to have big yards, especially in this area. So I think, if we can have the mix of single-family homes, but also require a mix of different kinds of housing, like we don't want to have only single-family homes. We want to also have 2-family detached and, some of the other varieties too. Is there a way, I know that some of that's kind of already in there, but do you see where Peter's going? Can you make some adjustments to that?
Yes, but I would ask that we kind of land on what approach we'd like. So from Peter's suggestion, having sort of a slate of lot sizes in order to introduce that kind of variety that kind of would otherwise naturally, come about, in building a village over 150 years. We could do that. I would recommend that if you do take that approach, that we then, in order to accommodate that and the desired mixing of uses at a certain size, that those lot sizes be kind of simplified, so, converging on, more commonality. So instead of having each one dialed into a very particular size, group a few of those on a lot size that fits something like the 6,000 square feet, or 7,000 square feet. In order to,
Yeah, just, like what you're saying, but in addition to what Peter just recommended, which is various sizes and configurations of residential, is there a way that we can, because we're trying to have an actual village, it doesn't, if all you have is residences and no and we've already indicated that we're going to allow commercial and retail and that kind of stuff in this area. Is there a way that we can define the percentage of retail and the percentage of that? Because it's having a walkable town, walkable village square, and the only thing you're walking to are other people's houses. The whole concept of making it walkable and have, like walking to a restaurant, you're walking to
Dan,
the
I
repair
think it already
shop.
does, right?
the VMU currently requires that residential development on tracts of, I believe, 50,000 square feet or larger can only, they must be a part of a development that is at least 50% non-residential. So
Okay.
if somebody wanted to develop a lot of, residential, it would have to be as part of a larger development with a mix of uses. So if the tract, if we're talking about anything of a significant size, larger than an acre.
So you're saying by virtue of the way that the zoning is listed, there would already, I don't know how they get mixed in.
It's already required,
flip ahead
and
a
John's
slide, I think?
changes don't change those requirements. They adjust,
Okay.
I think, the percentages, but they don't
Yeah,
really change them.
So I illustrated
Okay.
this where in the current standards on those larger tracts, the white box there is the non-residential, and then on the right, you've got the light green and the dark green, or the really pale green, whatever. It's a 50-50 split, between the residential use and the required open space associated with the residential use. So 25% of the total tract area could be turned into residential building lots.
So I'm wondering if maybe Dan's, maybe we're referring to when we say village mixed use, where we have development that has commerce on the first floor and other things above.
Sure. Yes. Is there a question as to how that would appear in here, or?
Exactly.
So right now, that is grouped with the non-commercial uses, non-residential with the commercial uses. Since, a mixed-use building is typically treated as a commercial building, financed and insured that way. Though it has a residential component and people may live there and call it home. So it's grouped in with those uses where the maximum size is, the minimum lot area is 15,000 square feet. And the maximum building size is 15,000 square feet. And so those are capped at 4 units per building.
Okay.
So,
I guess what I'm driving at and trying to figure out, how do we accomplish it, and accommodate it, is in most of the historic villages in Pennsylvania that I've had good fortune to visit over the course of a number of years. They actually have a mix of houses with people living in them, businesses with retail or restaurant, or even sometimes some commercial mixed in. And it's all mixed in the same area. And the really nice ones almost always have a large central green space in the middle that is the focal point. And as you go out from that central point, that village green or whatever, each successive block past that main drag around that green gets more residential and less mixed up. I mean, in my ideal world of what a village would look like here, in between, I would imagine that would be walkable, that people would be able to walk from the outside to the inside and so forth. So how do you affect something like that with the current rules that we have?
So what you're describing, if we wanted to code into the zoning requirements that would mandate the construction of something resembling a historic village center or a borough with like that really organic kind of like emergent mixing of uses, it would have to be enormously detailed and complex in its description, I think. The best way to do that would be to become a developer, I think. Sorry to say, the best way to do it is do it yourself. But that.
Let's put this, I wouldn't want to mandate it. As you said, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
But how would you incentivize it? How could you incentivize it?
So I think one of the best ways to incentivize it would be to if we're talking about anything, different from what's currently in existence, what's currently proposed here, we would have to probably I'm really trying to think how we would carve out a path for this mixed use. I think that seems to be sort of what you're angling for, right? More mixed use, more small mixed use buildings. Is that kind of the desire here? Because if I were to imagine what's most likely to be proposed, something that's trying to take some tract on the edge of Zieglerville, you've got about 60 acres roughly that's currently vacant or in agricultural use total, divided between a few different areas on the different legs of the roundabout. We're talking about a tract that's maybe 20 acres or something. It's not a lot of land to work with to build out a town center or something, a historic village. But what I've proposed here, allowing for the open space requirements, the common areas of the commercial conditional use and the residential developments, for those to be combined so that you'd have the open space between them, would ensure that even something that's very conventional, in commercial, would be more in the scale of the village that was proposed to be downsized from the 50,000 to 35,000 square feet for the grocery store at its maximum. Accordingly, the other uses brought in with that would be shrunk down in total area. But the restrictions on the residential types, keeping them off of the arterials so as not to allow for something that is relatively easy, relatively lucrative, and in high demand right now to crowd out your historic buildings. Those same restrictions don't apply to the mixed-use buildings. Those could go anywhere on a tract, essentially. They have more freedom. Now, whether somebody wants to come in and build that type, I think is a question for the builders. Like I said, we cannot force people to build things they don't want to build.
True, yes.
Yeah, John, I think if we kind of tweak the language about making it, what's the word I want to use? Requiring the mix of housing types. So Dan, we're going to avoid having house after, every house on the street kind of looks the same. That's what we're trying to avoid. I think requiring that mix a mix of maybe some different, the lot sizes might be more or less the same, but the housing types will look different. And also the design standards, which we haven't talked about yet at all. I think the design standards combined with that are going to give us close to what we want, but we're not going to get this town here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Doylestown's like 7,000 people, so.
So I think those two things will get us close. So if you can maybe tweak some of that language about the different mixes, requiring them to have a mix of housing types, and I think that'll.
So what I'm hearing
that'll
is
help.
it's slightly implausible that you could assume that a developer would want to come in and create businesses with houses in the same location, that we're probably just going to end up with a suburban village where the commercial is over here and the housing is over there.
I think that is the likeliest path, unless we force some kind of, or require, let's say require.
That sounds better.
It certainly does. A bit more mixing, as you described. But keep in mind that the area we're talking about is small enough that, we're only really talking about at most 2 streets deep, like from the arterial, maybe a back face to the existing street, to turn it into kind of a block, and then maybe one more block before we hit the steep slopes and the woodlands and the required open spaces. So we're really talking about a fairly small area. And actually, Jason, I think earlier in the slides, there's some examples of the kind of design concepts that were developed as far back as 2003, 2004.
Just to help me out before you go too much further. So you're primarily referring to the land that sits behind Route 29, behind the houses along Route 29, and before it runs into Swank Road, right? Because that's most of the village mixed use. There is some on the other side, kind of like towards where CVS, and there's some land over there, but not terribly that much. The most of the remaining undeveloped village mixed use land exists between, right where you're showing it, between Route 29 and up towards Swank Road.
Yes, so that area and that area that is kind of south of the circle, behind the CVS and whatnot, those are the 2 main areas of undeveloped or vacant land in the VMU. So village mixed use is really prominently located, but it's not very large within the township. We're really talking about a fairly small area. Where did we leave off? Oh, sorry, the point of the mix of housing types. So skipping to the additional standards for residential development, drawing from the county's model ordinance for village mixed-use zoning, which actually was published after your zoning district. I can't help but think that you were kind of the forerunners here. Does include a requirement that residential developments have a mix of housing types. So it's not, all one uniform, model copied in, lot after lot. So what's proposed here is that in a residential development, housing, you have at least 2 housing types, no housing type, take up more than 50% of the building lots. So if you had just 2, that's 50-50. If you had 3, that could be 50%, 25%, 25%, so on. It's proposed to have, a good number of housing types available. So, it could be more mixed. Although every additional type is going to be like more complexity in that pro forma. So keeping in mind that, we're aiming for at least a 50-50 split.
John, you mentioned the county's village mixed-use planning information.
The model ordinance, yes.
And having looked at the counties and several other counties, all of them tend to show the village, in the village mixed use, they almost all focus around center green area. Why is that prominent in like Montgomery's, Bucks, and Chester counties planning for village mixed use? To say you should have a focal point of a green or a village or a square or whatever you want to call it. But I'm hearing from you that for us to try to place that in that large chunk of real estate is not something that's within our ability to plan for. So I'm perplexed.
So to clarify, Dan, I was not saying that the village green is an impossible dream. In fact, it is written in, and I've added detail for the residential component, especially that we encourage the distribution of, kind of small neighborhood parks throughout the development. But we don't, what I took a little bit of an effort to, prevent in this revision is from that new open space requirement for the neighborhood open spaces, from kind of capturing all the required neighborhood open space in one large park that might grow beyond that kind of village green scale, that it might be easier for somebody designing a development to just throw it all in one place and kind of not worry about it elsewhere. So currently in the village mixed use, the village green is a requirement of the village marketplace. You kind of already got one in the form of Village Center Park, right on the roundabout. So any new village marketplace development would be required under the current ordinance to create kind of another one. The township certainly has the ability to designate exactly where you want a village open space, where you'd want to have that green. That might be best accomplished through an official map or through a zoning ordinance. It's a little bit difficult to specify like a geographical location, but you can certainly give the kind of characteristics that you want it to have. It's required
You
to be
already have a village park already now.
Yeah.
So now, why would you want to have a second one? It doesn't make sense, okay? You have the one already, so now you want to build around it, okay? And that's exactly what I think. The plan is already set for these. I don't know why we're arguing through all this and that, but you needed a guy to come in to set the plan, and now you got to adjust the zoning for him to fit.
Jason, would you skip to the, I think it's maybe the second to last slide or something? Oh, wait, there it goes. The open space, I think is just before. Oh, no, there it is, neighborhood open space, okay. So yes, the Village Center Park is already in existence. I've been through, spent a little bit of time there myself. I don't know how popular it is as a destination. The park is, I like the design, it's a good size, it's a good shape, but it's right next to, State Highway where you've got about 12 to 15,000 cars a day. And it's not really buffered in that way. I mean, it's not quite the venue for, sitting out, hanging with friends, reading on the bench, holding a picnic.
John, it's really not valuable in the sense of the way you're planning modules in all the counties and the way village greens typically are beneficial to a township or to wherever they're planted is they act as the anchor around which the various residences and cafes, restaurants, whatever, they center around that center around that green, right? And, but this is not centering around anything that anybody would, can't build anything around that anymore. And it's also not in a high, you don't want it to be where you're in an auto-focused area. That area is highly automobile-focused and centric. I mean, part of the village mixed use, it stresses over and over again that you want to make a pedestrian-focused village. That's why you want a center green with all the types of institutions that people would, you get listed them all, cafes, restaurants, bakeries, blah, blah, blah. Those are supposed to be around that green according to all the guides I've read. So I'm just trying to, that park is relatively, it's okay, but it's a focal point for our township, and it doesn't have the capacity to do that. But if we were to put something that had streets around it that were pedestrian-based streets, that would be much more effective. And I think there is room between 29 and Swank Road to make something like that occur. And it's just a matter of.
I think what John is saying is there's a requirement for a pretty significant amount of open space in the VMU. And there could be a village green, and there could also be these small pocket parks. So let's say if a neighborhood of 8 to 10 houses has their own little open space, that would be their focal point, and the other street might have their own little open space, rather than having everybody to come to this one area. And I think there should be a buffer between the residential and the non-residential, but doesn't necessarily have to be a village green. It will be open space. Maybe it will be a different shape or in a different place, but it will be open space, and it will be a place where people can go. So I don't think we should get too fixated on what we're going to call it. I mean, am I right? There's a lot of open space requirement in this,
Yes.
in this ordinance, which I think would satisfy all the things we're looking for.
I think so. And I would say that if you want to have one new focal point, one perfect, ideal village green, then the tool that you're looking for might not be in the zoning code, but is instead something like an official map to pick that spot, designate that improvement, pencil
I
in
think you
the
actually suggest that.
street
Yeah.
connections around it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I happen to be a supporter of official maps as a planning tool.
I'm right there.
They're available, okay?
But that's a separate
It's an option.
conversation.
It is. It
right?
certainly is. It's something that could be pursued separate from this.
Great.
We don't need to make any decisions on that now.
Great. And I just had one other question is, when would we need to see, or when would we expect to see the design standards? Because I know that kind of has to go along with this. Would that be like?
Do you refer to the village design guidebook or
That's
something?
it, the village
Okay.
design guidebook. Thank you.
So what I propose is a guidebook, guidelines, not necessarily a sort of binding piece of the regulations. I believe it's somewhat contentious trying to hold development, within an ordinance to extremely strict standards. So that is something that I would like to pursue if you ask it of me over the next 2 months, taking time to travel around, gather photos, because I find that I don't have a lot of photos of your kind of
And I
existing
think you can also use
architectural
Carol's, the one Carol shared with us is also a resource. Or maybe can you share that with John?
historic, was it the,
It gives you some examples. It's kind of like, this can become this.
Manual done
Oh,
for another
yes.
community.
yes,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
it's
I
really
do- I
nice.
do have that.
It kind of says like,
And
here it
others.
is, this is what this store looks like, and next to it, this is what it looks like. So it kind of fits into the village. And I think it's good for people to have some guidelines to know kind of what we're looking for without being prescriptive.
Certainly.
So just the one thing, going back to the Village Green, if you really want that, I think one of the things the board might want to reassess is whether or not this need for a supermarket or a grocery store or some large retail, because that really is counterintuitive to the small village that you guys seem to be going for. Furthermore, if you look at what Pineville has given us, it's a huge store and parking lot right in the middle of what you want to be your village center. If you want to have a supermarket like that, that's what should be right on Gravel Pike. And the parking lot should be right on Gravel Pike. And then you put the whole village behind it. That way, the village is very walkable. It's not broken up by these large stores, by the huge parking lot. Well, at the same time, those people, they're gonna be able to walk and bike to that supermarket. And the people out, yeah, we can define it whatever we want. And the people who don't live in this area, it's gonna be much more convenient for them to drive to. And they're not driving through the village area to get to it. So, maybe one of the things you might wanna look at or is kind of either eliminating that, moving it to the outer edges, and, that's going to give a lot more space if you want some sort of central feature. And we certainly can put language in the ordinance that says, okay, you have to have a village green, a village square, some central feature, but it has to be bigger than this, but it can't be larger than that. And we certainly can, write an ordinance to that effect, but that's something I think you guys might want to consider.
I really like that because it makes sense, because when people want to go to the CVS, they just go right to the CVS. There it is, right there on the road. So I don't know how other people feel, but it does make sense for those high-traffic stores, whatever they are, to be on the road. And then once you get inside, that's the quieter pedestrian area where you're not going to have a lot of cars coming through.
Yeah.
The cars should stay on the perimeters.
Yeah, I agree with the premise that Peter brought forth, because having the village supermarket or grocery store or whatever you want to call it in the middle of the largest contiguous chunk of area within the village mixed-use area, it made no sense, because that was, in my opinion, it seemed very counter to the concept of establishing a walkable village when you're going to drag all the automobiles into the village, which is I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm personally not going to get myself wrapped around the axle over a village green. But I'd like to understand what criteria is being used for the village mixed-use code that allows a marketplace with a freestanding 3,000 square foot grocery store and two other freestanding 15,000 square foot structures. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from. Village mixed-use districts inherently usually aim for multiple smaller storefronts that blend the community, like we talked about before. The whole of it, the 35,000 square foot grocery store, and I appreciate the reduction from the original 50,000. It just feels more like suburban village. And I know that you provided us data that kind of supported the 35,000, but were those comparisons in a village mixed-use scheme, or were they just small suburban sprawl?
So in the one case where I actually did a parking survey, it was I'm trying to remember which grocery store it was, up in Red Hill, within the borough itself, very much within the, kind of walkable fabric of the neighborhood grid. So no, these grocery stores don't all appear exclusively kind of on the, big state highway commercial strip. It's smaller, older stores that tend to be in those places. There are some grocery store chains that do build small new stores, but smaller you go, the fewer it is, the less cases that, they're really looking for. My understanding of the original inclusion of the village marketplace and the supermarket grocery store concept in Zieglerville was born out of that kind of conceptual exploration that happened over 20 years ago. I was not a part of that. I assume there was, community discussions at the time of what sort of uses were desired there. This was long before the Wawa, CVS, and other.
Well, that was, we had our comp plan as well. I mean, the village mixed use was put in 2006.
Yes.
Yes. But since then, we have our comp plan, and the comp plan points to this area, and the residents had little dots and put them on pictures, and
Yeah.
those were the things, and that's what we're trying to support with addressing the village mixed use.
Just to be helpful to John and to not be here till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can we come to consensus that if there are, let's just call them larger stores or the largest stores in that area, that they ought to be on the outside, not on the inside, that would be compatible with our village mixed use, and then figure out what we want to call them later?
I'd actually like to call for a reduction from 35 to 25.
No, but the question was.
No, I agree with you with that. At the same
can
time,
we-
that was part of my conversation
Okay.
here. But I agree with you, we could put it on the periphery then, I suppose. Beg your pardon? Oh, Sherry, do you have a question? Could you come up?
Marla, can you please define on the outside? What do
So,
you mean?
okay, so did you, is that an actual question? You want to be on the record?
Yeah, Sherry's asking, what do
Okay,
you mean
that's
by on
Sherry
the outside?
Schweiker, Schwenk Road. Okay. So as Peter said, if we're going to put something like a grocery store or whatever, a workout place where there would be more parking required and there would be more traffic, that his recommendation is those be on the outside, that is on our main road, so people wouldn't have to go through, yes, so people would not have to go into neighborhoods where people are living. They would just go to the place they want to, which would be right on 29 or, on the outside, and then that would reduce the traffic flow.
Outside, I thought you were at the edges of the village, which is budding up to our more rural areas. And we wouldn't
No, no, no.
our largest
Oh, so not on the back end along, right,
have a nice farm there. Here's
No.
a
Right,
farm
right.
and here's
No.
a workout center right next door.
No.
That's not what we want.
No. We want them to be facing the main roads, so we don't have the traffic and the parking in the middle where rightly it should be quiet, where people should be walking their dogs and in residential areas. So that was how I believe Peter described it.
So one way that we could accomplish that is by requiring those uses to have frontage on an arterial. Is that the approach we'd like to take?
I'm not a fan, but if it's, there's consensus that that's what everybody else wants to do, I'd be willing to look at it.
I also would still like to explore the notion of getting the size of the size value down even further, because, again, in my exploration of walking around this township and talking to God knows how many people, the consensus to have a grocery store of any size didn't seem to be a high priority to most of the people I spoke with. But I'll leave it to other people. Crystal, you got any thoughts on this?
I shared my thoughts on not bringing it down, but I don't know what you guys are going to decide on. I know where I'm standing very firm, and that's trying to keep this as rural as possible. With bringing in even just a supermarket or a grocery store, that's going to congest everything. So if we want to go that route, it's going to be congested.
I was willing to take a compromise approach for the people who want the grocery store and the people who don't want the grocery store, whoever wants to build a grocery store, to reduce it down to, I'd be willing to go to 20, 25,000. And if it's conditional use anyway, if they want something bigger, then they can come and say why it's a benefit to the rest of the township to have a 35,000 square foot grocery store.
I personally did not move out of a suburban neighborhood out to Lower Frederick Township for it to start slowly turning into a suburban township.
I'm with you 100%, but the
So,
reality
with that being
is that
said,
we're
I-
going to get a grocery
Can I
store
finish
whether we
talking?
like it or not.
Let me finish talking.
Go ahead.
Thanks. So with that being said, I do appreciate that you guys are trying to bring down the size in the grocery store. I think you guys need to think of what's going to happen 10 years from now. Who's going to be running the grocery stores? How congested this is going to get when the developers come in and start building, even if it's semi-detached houses, is that how it's called? Semi-detached twin houses? I heard one supervisor say they want affordable homes, affordable housing. If you want to keep the rural characteristic, in every aspect, we have to start setting boundaries. This isn't like, we're not playing like build a town here or build a state. Like this is a little town, and if we're trying to keep it little, then there's things that we have to start putting boundaries on. If not, it's just going to continue to develop, and you can say goodbye to Lower Frederick Township as a rural characteristic altogether.
So I think we can theoretically agree with everything you're saying, but the pieces of land in the VMU, people have a legal right to build to a certain density. We can't stop the development.
I didn't say that at all.
But I'm not finished. But what we can do, and I believe we're better off having a mix of the commercial. If we just have residential there and we don't bring in any stores, each home has 2 cars, 3 cars, that's more traffic than someone stopping in to buy a carton of milk. People drive through here all the time, and we don't have much of a mix of commercial and residential. We're becoming a bedroom community. And I think if we can encourage, I don't care what size you call it, whether you want to have a big one or a small or a medium, but I think we need not just more houses to be built. I think we need more stores, more offices, more places of business. And that's kind of what we're missing. And that's what I'd like to see in the village mixed use is, again, different types of uses.
I lived here all my life, okay? 70-some years. I seen everything they tried to do in Zieglersville, and it did not work, okay? You need someone to come in, like is happening, give you a design, and then you just have to try and fit it in there and make it work. That's the only way you're gonna see that town build. If not, they're all gonna leave, and you're gonna get nothing. New Hanover is just booming, and I'm gonna tell you, all that traffic is coming through us, okay? And we're getting nothing out of it. It's gonna be, I'll tell you what'll happen to Zieglersville. It's gonna be another Schwanksville. You will have nothing. You'll be taxed to death, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm giving you a fair warning, that's what's gonna happen. If you don't wanna believe me, then just keep saying, you don't want this, you don't want that, and you're gonna see it. You'll be taxed to death, and you're not gonna like it. Schwanksville has nothing, and you have to admit it, they have nothing down there. And that's the way it went. Used to have a hardware store, used to have barber shops, used to have a hotel. It had all kinds of stuff back in the days. It was booming. All of a sudden, it has nothing. Because that's the way they wanted it.
So
I'm sorry, it's the way it's gonna be.
So, go ahead, John.
Is there consensus on further reducing the size of the grocery store? Or would you rather I remove it entirely?
If
As
you
an
reduce
option.
the size of the grocery store, I don't know, where do you have it right now? 40,000?
35.
35.
35,000, 40,000 is big enough. I think you'll get somebody in here, but if you go too small, you're gonna get nobody. And I'm gonna tell you, in the last bunch of 20 years or so, we've been trying to get a store in here, and when we called them, they said no. Had nothing to do, the population wasn't enough. So,
I'm still for reducing it down to 25. And if they want something bigger, they got to come for conditional use anyway. And they can plead their case on why 35 is better than 25.
Jason, if you could.
Dan, we're looking for
Go to
consensus
the grocery store slide.
on a
I think
reduction
those-
of the grocery
or,
store.
Sorry,
amount.
village market, well, you got it, you got it. So one thing I would add just really quickly here is that under the current standard with the 50,000 square feet and the requirement that there be, kind of a 50-50 split between the anchor and like the other stores, which again, we said are capped at 15,000 square feet, that works out to, one supermarket, 3 buildings at maximum size, and then a little 5,000 square foot remainder. By reducing to 35, there's still that 5,000 square foot remainder, but then it's only 2 other buildings to fill out that village marketplace concept. At 30,000, it's just the anchor and 2 other buildings theoretically
Yeah, I know.
to fill it out.
I mean, if I had my druthers, it'd be 10 smaller commercial buildings over 70,000 square foot, but that's not going to happen.
and if I'm not mistaken, months back here, you already went around checking, and the stores were, Red Hill, Redner's was about 35 or 30.
Yes.
And I did mention that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you checked on a couple of these others around, and they were within the same, within 35, 40.
Yes, I brought it down to 35 because that is not uncommon,
There you go.
However, I did mention that none of these were in a village mixed-use schematic. They're in a strip mall or in a shopping center, but Sherry?
And are those smaller grocery stores being built now, or are they stores that are existing from a long time ago and just happen to be small?
So there are both. There are both grocery stores of that size that have existed for many, many years, like in Red Hill, and there are instances like Aldi, for instance, building new grocery stores of about 32,000 square feet that I found. We don't have an unlimited number of grocery stores in this county, so our, total population to look at is, it's not huge, but there is variation.
Dan?
First off, my thoughts on this is there some kind of legal requirement for us to actually have a store? Because I thought the whole purpose of village mixed use, in a village, you have small scale retail, small scale commercial. And I think the whole, this whole idea of throwing in the supermarket, be it 20, 30, whatever, thousand square feet, is an anathema to the whole concept of a village. I mean, villages that have typically evolved have never had 35,000 square foot supermarkets slap dab in the middle of them. Those are almost always on, and so do we really have to have it? Do we have to include it in the zoning? Can it be restricted like some of the other things that we indicated are not permissible in the village mixed-use area? We intentionally did not define what was not permitted. We stated what was allowed, right?
So, Dan, we have to allow retail uses, but we can just say, if we allow a retail use, i.e. something that a grocer could fit under, that that's fine. We don't have to specifically allow a grocery store or supermarket. As long as we have a use that someone could operate under to open up such a retail shop, that works. Likewise, we don't have to zone for every possible size or scheme of retail. We do have to allow for some sort of retail, but it's not like we have to zone for both a tiny little car shop and a Walmart. That there's court cases out there that clearly say that. That being said, if we limited all our retail to 1,000 square feet, I'd be a little worried about it. But in this case, if you eliminate this particular retail scheme, I don't think it's going to cause us any problems, legally speaking.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't really fully understand the concept behind linking all these retail stores together. Like, it might be, one thing to consider is, allow these commercial uses, but don't make it that you have to have two. If you put in a supermarket or grocery, you have to have the two others. Or if you want to put into two others, you have to have a grocery. Just allow retail.
Yeah, I know that in my write-up that I was asked to provide about what I envisioned was removing the village marketplace altogether, allowing for a 25,000 square foot grocery store. And I don't understand it either, why you would condition for all these other things.
Yeah.
But
And the write-up I gave also, I just don't understand how, so I didn't put it in my write-up as something that I would expect to see in the village mixed-use area. Is this something that is so auto-centric when we're supposed to be developing a pedestrian-centric type of area, something that's more in keeping with the style of the township we live in presently?
and
So,
if we have control over, we should do the right thing.
So I like Peter's suggestion of not mandating how many retail establishments we have. I would personally not want to exclude a grocery store. I would much rather see a grocery store than a Burger King or a Papa John's or any of those other chains that would love to come in. And I'd rather have a good old-fashioned grocery store in there than some of those other. And that you have to be careful what you wish for.
I'm
You know
not
what I
saying
mean?
remove I'm saying
So-
remove village marketplace, put the grocery store in there, allow for it, put a cap on the size. They have to come for conditional use anyway. I'm not saying taking it away, I'm doing like a
So
half
can
and
we all
half.
agree on that and let John,
I'm
and
sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I think,
are we all in agreement on that?
I
then?
would like to hear yes, if you're all in favor of Noel's approach of removing the village marketplace and simply retaining the grocery store as a conditional use with a larger size?
No, the larger size would be conditional use. It could
Yes,
be,
well,
Reduce
yes.
it down to 25, and they have to come for conditional use for it anyway.
So if I may push back slightly.
Sure.
I would say that 15,000 square feet is not unheard of for a grocery store. As Peter said, retail is sufficiently broad that a grocery store could come in tomorrow at 15,000 square feet, no problem. No encumbrance of the village marketplace requirements. So as a conditional use, I think I hope I've demonstrated that 35,000 square feet is, kind of a limit of viability where, that gives you more options and where you might be able to place some more conditions. At 25,000 square feet, it's just so, marginal. There's very little in that size range between 15 or so and roughly 35.
You're basically talking about the corner bodega versus an actual kind of miniature supermarket.
Yeah.
And having, I have what we call the Tiny Giant within a minute of my house, and that's where we shop.
A tiny giant?
Yeah, we call it the Tiny Giant, the Little Giant. It's a giant supermarket. I estimate it's about 37,000 square feet. It's got 90 to 95% of everything we need. When we need something else, we go to the big giant. But I live in a walkable community. I could walk to this place. I bike to this place. Everyone around us shops there. I think that's the only reason why it stays open, because there are supermarkets within 10 minutes of us. But, so I would agree with John, keeping it at 35,000, keeping it as a conditional use. You're not gonna get one unless these supermarket people want one, and they know, okay, it's gonna be viable. The likelihood, based on everything you guys told me over the last year of discussing this, I don't think you'll ever see one. In fact, the fact that the closest grocery store closed, I think is indicative that maybe there's oversaturation here. But, I mean, if you want to do it, I would keep it at 35. I think lowering it to 25, it's the same as just eliminating it. But that's my opinion, my experience.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, any comments?
You asking if we should lower it to 25, or are we still on that question?
Well,
Yeah, I would say I'd still go for lowering it, because that, again, reduces the possibility, in my opinion, which I think is a positive thing.
Yeah, but what Peter said is if you lower it, you're just basically saying you're eliminating it, so.
And
can we
I'm
just-
fine with that
And he
concept.
also doesn't think we're going to get one anyway, so let's just leave
And
it
I'm
at
fine with
35.
I
that.
can agree with lowering it to 25.
Yeah, I'm okay with 25.
25?
I'm super happy with 25.
That sounds like approval.
Consensus?
Okay, 25. All right, were there any other questions before we wrap this up?
I do have one question, and maybe, as much as I want to remove the Village Marketplace, in hindsight, I think, will that just be replaced by a bunch of houses as opposed to businesses?
Well, there's still.
And then we get a
Well,
grocery store
if-
with a bunch of houses?
Peter, did you want to?
I'll quickly.
Yes.
If, as been discussed before, if we have requirements that not only do we have a variety of housing types, but we also require
Right.
commercial and residential, or residential and non-residential uses within a certain size development, you're going to get some commercial.
We're going to get it. Okay.
Yes,
All right, then.
that's what I was going to say.
Didn't mean to make that so painful. Thank you. I did have some other things I wanted to touch on, but after that conversation, the porch conversation is probably not important, so I'm going to let that go.
We could maybe save that for the design guidebook.
Really, it's not that important. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to address, unless there's, other than the 50,000 square foot hotel motel?
It's gone.
Okay, all right.
Not another question, but would you be able to give us an updated version in time for our next meeting, which is in, wait for it, 3 weeks?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was going to say, what I've got here are a pretty clear set of revisions to the document that you had tonight, so, yes.
Thank you, and apologies for the late hour.
Yes, you did a great job. Thank you very much. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much, John. Thanks for
going through
your
with it.
patience with our
Thank you.
impatience.
Yes, Jason? I can't see whose hand's raised. Oh, okay, sure. Linda?
It was my hand, yes. Linda Jansen, Simmons Road. I'd just like all the supervisors to please keep in mind, especially the ones that were advocating for putting the grocery store or any type of on the main arterials. There is not, in the boundaries of our current village mixed use, unless you plan on knocking down every historic house that's left in Zieglersville, destroying the rural character, there is no road frontage per se on Big Road, Gravel Pike, other than Coble Park, CVS Park, or the land in front of the old, it's Little's shop now, where the old Springhouse Tube used to be, from like Vince's Pizza to Southwood Station Road. So I have to agree with Supervisor Sachs when he referenced the Redners in the borough of Red Hill. You have your old-fashioned houses along the main artery on 63 there. And then Redner's is one lot back. So yes, if you're going to develop the interior of the larger vacant parcels, you would probably want the retail on the edge. But there is really no space left in Zieglersville to build right on Route 29 or Route 73. So please keep the historic and rural character of what's in existence in Zieglersville in mind when you decide where you're going to place this. So thank you for that consideration.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, no, I have a question.
Okay, Bob Burns, Siglerville Road.
Bob, yes, it is. I think I heard several people mention that the developer was in. Do we have plans that we can see?
No, we don't have anything official yet, Bob.
Okay. You just know they're coming from when they were in a year ago?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so John, you have enough to go on so far? General consensus from the board. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
With another updated draft. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, next on our business agenda this evening, policy procurement and disposal discussion. I think we covered this pretty well last week, or the last meeting.
The only thing was the
threshold
thresholds for a 3-quote minimum with, when dealing with a CoStarz dealer. That's kind of where it got left.
Oh, for the co-stars. The threshold, remember that we talked about that?
Right. I thought that what we talked about last time, and Terry, you made a comment about it's going to reduce our ability to move quickly.
I said to think about it, but I think you ought to just leave the co-stars alone,
I agree.
I agree.
okay?
So if that's the case, then it's my understanding the board was fine with the rest of the policy?
Well, my understanding is, as a policy, if you find something we need to tweak, we can tweak it at any time.
Yep.
So that's easy, right? We can always improve it, change it. So maybe we should just give it a spin and see how it.
And we'll move forward with it.
Okay, so what's the resolution number, Jason?
That would be 13.
13. So the motion before us this evening is to adopt Resolution 2026 R13, establishing a policy for how the township purchasing, procurement, and disposal of township property and assets. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Supervisor. It sounded like you said, oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Caught you off guard, huh?
It's getting a little late. I was like, where did that come from? I'm sorry. Supervisor Jarena makes the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
And Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is the Public Works dump truck purchasing authorization.
That's what happens when you're 3 hours in.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this was tabled at the last meeting to allow Public Works to get an updated quote. The consensus of the board at the time was to purchase a 6-wheel dump truck. I did attach the updated quotes for Peterbilt and the body quotes from RJ and Tommy. We did get an updated Mid-Atlantic municipal one, and the TP trailer quote from January is still good. So all total, we're looking at $258,882.96. So the cabin chassis did go up a couple of $1,000s. One thing that's also in your packet, we did receive a memo from Peterbilt stating that after tomorrow, their new pricing will be taking effect, which could increase the cost roughly $7,000 to $8,000.
Okay. All right.
And also working out financing after.
So we're going to order the truck. We can work the
Yes.
financing out. We're not making payments on it right away.
No, you
That's-
guys have enough to look at what, so like I will come back with more bank stuff and
Okay. Does anyone have any, want to have any more conversation on this? No more conversation? Okay. So the motion before us this evening to approve the quote provided by the Peterbilt Store and TP Trailer for a total not to exceed $260,000 and further authorize the township manager to sign any paperwork to complete the order. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Orff makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
thank you.
Thank you.
and then-
Okay, next up is the county requests participation in the Urban County Program discussion. Does anybody have any questions on this?
No. Oh, Carol, could you repeat
Yes.
what you said earlier that not everybody heard about
And the
this
reason it
program?
came up is because I was questioning whether it was going to be worth our time. I had investigated and looked at some stuff online and had some caveats, but Carol had some input that actually kind of shifted my opinion. Carol?
Thank you. I'm very familiar with the CDBG program for other municipalities. I do a number of CDBG grant projects. Last one I did here in Lower Frederick was in the 1990s. So I have been in touch with the CDBG county office in recent years. Lower Frederick Township, the incomes are too high to qualify as a low-income area for CDBG funding. However, what you can do is apply for CDBG funding for accessibility improvements. So, for example, you could do accessible ramps, any projects that would improve accessibility into your township building. Those are the kinds of projects that can be done with CDBG funding. And working through the county is a great way to do that. So I would suggest that you remain in the urban county program so you have the ability to take advantage of that.
Are we currently in it now? Okay, so it's just a renewal. Can we take care of that at the next meeting?
Actually, if we don't respond, we're still in it. If we were to
Oh,
respond,
that's right. It's if
actually
you don't
the-
do anything,
The
then,
day of our meeting is actually when we have,
so we don't need to do anything.
absolutely not.
Great.
Just, your manager loves.
Doing nothing and accomplishing something at the same time. It's worthwhile. All right. We'll move on from that. And the last is the ordinance and data center, and we're not going to be seeing that for a while.
I have a question and I have something else, which will be very brief, I promise. Are we going to get the two planning commission comments back soon? It's been, how many days has it been?
Well, our planning commission's meeting this week, so they haven't
Okay.
met
They'll
yet.
be looking at it.
So we'll get that from them then. And the other question I have is about the ordinance that we almost passed last year and didn't, and we need to get that back on the agenda about the lateral videoing and the property, maintenance stuff. Can we get that back on the agenda?
So my plan was to get that on the next general meeting, since we have new supervisors, because we also had the open burning that was authorized for advertisement. We wanted, based on Peter's,
Yeah, the property
And
maintenance.
maybe we could wrap that up because it's been a while since
so
we talked about it.
I was going to put that, I know, but do you really need that for the general? I mean, they're your drafts.
Yeah.
You've edited the dickens out of them, so.
Yeah.
So I would be looking for reauthorization for advertisement for those ordinances that we did not get on the schedule. But
Okay,
that way.
super. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Wake up. You
1,
sleeping?
2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5, 6 people. Okay. Okay. Is there any supervisor comment?
I have a public comment.
Oh, you do, Bob. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Bob Burns, Zieglerville Road. I want to thank Jason for having the road crew coming out and doing some work on Zieglerville for the next 2 days and for advertising that and getting some of that done, and hopefully we'll get more done. So thank you for stepping that up and getting the guys out on that.
Thank you, Bob.
Actually, I do have a supervisor comment. That Ready Monco program is great. For any of you who've signed up, it's fabulous. So I encourage everybody to sign up. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.